Welcome to the Sharpe Way. Yes, it is Monday evening, 7 p.m., and you got to look at my handsome mug or ugly mug, whatever you want. I don't care as long as you're looking. Yes, Larry Sharpe here on the Sharpe Way. Happy to answer your questions, anything you want to ask. Let's make this happen. And of course, please like, comment, share. I cannot stop bugging you enough. Please do that. It's very important that you do that. And of course, if you're not watching me on YouTube, head over to YouTube, click subscribe. Every subscriber matters. That's how those algorithms work. So let's make sure that please head on over there, subscribe on YouTube. It does matter. Take a couple of seconds and help me out and make that happen. Look, I want to bring up the question. It's funny. I was listening to a bunch of people on TV today and yesterday and over the weekend, and they've been talking about, oh my God, what are we going to do if Trump loses? What's the Republican Party going to do if Trump loses? I kept hearing that. And I'm not sure that Trump is going to lose. I'm not saying he is or isn't. I think right now, at this moment in time, he's in some trouble. But he still has a chance to pull this out. He still might win this thing. Who knows? I don't know. What I'm saying is there were a bunch of people acting like, well, it's already over. How are you going to fix the Republican Party? There were a lot of Republicans who were talking about this, or former Republicans talking about, oh, I used to be a Republican, but because of Trump. So I remembered something that I had talked about literally in February, when the impeachment was going on, when Trump was impeached by the Congress and then had to then move to the Senate. And my wife and I were chatting, and I brought this up, I think on the show, but I might have brought it up on a podcast I was on. And I told my wife, I said, the Machiavellian thing, and for you, those of you people who support Trump, and many people who watch this support Trump, this is not a discussion on whether he deserved it or not. It's not what this is about. This is about the Republican Party and the old Republican Party, the pre-Trump party, the people who are literally sitting there saying, I just don't want to be Democrat, but I don't really like Trump. For that group of Republicans, there are many of them still existing in Congress and the Senate, and they're behind Trump because that's the way to win. Makes sense. And some support Trump. But I was telling my wife, and I was talking to some friends, and I said, imagine if the Senate had decided, you know what? Now's our time to backstab Trump. Do the Julius Caesar and stab Trump, and use the Afghan Russian crisis that just come up just come up in February as an excuse to go, see, we love Trump, but this Afghan thing, this Russian thing, this is the reason why we're gonna get rid of him, and then they remove Trump. Imagine if they had done that. And you would say, well, why would they? This doesn't make any sense, Larry. Trump was popular then. And he was, there's no doubt. But imagine if they had actually done that. I said that if I was a moderate Republican in that party, I totally would have tried to do it. Of course I would have, right? Because what do you get, right? If you're a conservative in the Republican Party, Trump's already given you all those judges that he was going to give, right? So you've got all the judges already that you wanted. He's already set up a situation to where it's us versus them, right? That was happening since Obama, with the left versus right, deep entrenchment was happening since the Obama years. Trump just doubled down on it, like he was taking care of it already. So you already have that idea of we don't like Democrats, right? And Democrats don't like Republicans. That was already there. You get your judges, you had your populism, and now all of a sudden you get rid of Trump, and Pence walks in. Well, Pence is a conservative, and if you're a conservative, you get a conservative president, right? Guy was a governor. He knows how to turn lights on and stuff, so it's not going to be the end of the world, right? If you're a Republican, that is. If you're a Democrat, that's horrible, obviously, right? But if you're a Republican, not the end of the world, right? Pence is fine for you if you're a Republican. And now COVID hits. So you have the opportunity for Pence to either be a hero, right? One, and make up for the problems that you would take. If the Republicans get rid of Trump in February, massive backlash. Of course, there are millions of Americans who love Trump. So, but if they then get Pence could be a hero during COVID. Now Pence is the hero. But the most important thing for Republicans, and this is a Machiavellian move, guys, The biggest issue that's motivating Democrats is a hatred of Trump. If you remove Trump from that, what do Democrats have? Now they have to have policy and stuff. Well, that's, they're not good at that, right? They're good at hating Trump, really good at that. They're not good at having policy. That's not one of their skill sets. Well, now Biden would actually matter, right? Because right now Biden's a placeholder, right? Many Republicans are trying to, attack Biden and call him names and such, and try to get people not to vote for him. It doesn't matter. The Democrats are voting because he's not Trump. That he, as I said before, he could literally be a ham sandwich, and Democrats would vote for him. But imagine if Trump wasn't there. If they removed Trump and put Pence there instead, and Pence had become a hero over COVID, he actually, jumped on a COVID bandwagon, been the COVID, train, whatever the case may be. If he had done that, imagine what would be happening now. It'd be a whole different election. A whole different election. And those Republicans who want to go back to the old, neocon Republicans, boom, there you go. Your party's back just like that. Immediately. Just like that. And if Pence screws up COVID, no worries. Remember, the primary was already trashed by the time February came. The Republican primary was already trashed. So the Republican elites could have simply just said, our next nominee is that guy. They could have put they could have put their Jeb Bush in after all, right? They could have done the Jeb Bush thing or whatever they wanted to do. And they could have played the game of, being, I'm going to unite the country with Jeb Bush or whoever they were going to put in play. Now, I know I'm kind of, doing an alternate universe thing here. It's the comic book guy in me, I guess. But I want you to think about the Machiavellian moves that happen in other countries and happen in our country too. But imagine what would have happened if they'd actually done that. If they had actually turned on Trump in February, removed him, put Pence in would have taken over. The Republicans could be changing everything right now. They could be deciding who's going to be the next president. They could be playing the healing game. They could have, if COVID went bad, they'd blame Pence and put someone else in. If COVID went well, they'd have made him the hero. Would have changed everything. And the most important thing for Republicans is there wouldn't be the we hate Trump motivation that Democrats have right now. And boy, they hate Trump. And when that goes away, now what? Democrats have to have policy and such. I don't know, right? I don't know. But something else, right? In November, there's going to be, whether Trump wins or loses, whatever happens, there's going to be tens of millions of unhappy people on one side or the other. I think they would have had a chance to unite the party if it was a non-Trump Republican. It would have been a chance. I'm not sure that they would have been able to do it, but I think they actually would have been a chance for that. Anyway, that was an interesting concept. I thought about it today. I wanted to bring that up because I think people are asking about it now, particularly if you're an old school Republican. If you're a Republican who doesn't like Democrats, who doesn't really like Trump, you're probably thinking about that right now. If you're one of those people, that's important. So Matthew says, not for what the fake, not listed in the impeachable offense in the Constitution charge was. That said, all the presidents for a long time now should have been impeached, from Bush Sr. to now, or quite a few before that. I think you could have found a reason to impeach probably every president. I think it's probably true. I mean, the presidency was supposed to be a relatively weak office, and it is not that. So you probably could, Matthew, you probably could find a reason to impeach probably almost every president. You probably could. But I meant remove, right? I was saying politically remove. That's what I was bringing up. So Joe left. He left because I dared to ask the question. Joe, what are you doing? I asked a question and you got to leave. Come back. Don't be that way. Come back. The comments show just how eager you were last cycle, Mr. Sharpe. Your upstate conservatives have polluted the Liberty poll. Well, no, everybody's welcome here, Percy. Everybody's welcome here. It doesn't matter. And I wouldn't call it polluted. That's kind of a negative term. If you're an upstate conservative, you are welcome to be here all you want. Absolutely. Please stay. Whether you support me or not, I hope you support me. But if you don't, it's okay. And I'm not eager to have them vote for me. I want them to, obviously. But I'm eager to have them hear us. I am. That's true, Percy. Guilty as charged. I want everyone to hear me, including upstate conservatives and downstate liberals too. All of them. Yes, guilty as charged. All right. I'll grab a couple more if I can. Let's see. I will bring up the other piece you asked. All right. They are going to try to lock this state down again? When are the people going to tell the state to go screw? Joey, I don't know. I wish they would, right? I brought this up earlier, and people thought I was crazy when I said it. I said, if I had a restaurant in New York City or any place in New York State, if I had a restaurant in New York City, and they told me I have to shut it down and they're going to fine me, I would leave it open anyway. I don't care. If you're a restaurant owner, once all the rents are due, you're going out of business anyway, and you're going to be bankrupt. So if you're going to be bankrupt, well, who cares? Keep it open. Take cash, right? Take cash only. Keep your restaurant or your whatever open. Do to the best of your ability when it comes to social distancing. What they're doing right now, I would have been doing in February or March when they shut down in March, right? I would have been doing that in March. I would have been, to the best of my ability, distancing so that I don't, that I give the best chance of people not getting COVID. And when they come by, give me a ticket, fine. I'll reopen again. And they shut me down, I'll cut the lock and reopen again. What do they do? Put me in jail where there's COVID? Do that. See how well that works, right? That's not going to work. And not just that, what are you going to fine me? $1,000? Make it $10,000. Make it $1 billion. It doesn't matter. I'm not paying it. I'm going bankrupt. So what the hell do I care? So I'm with you. I wish more people would just use the guidelines required to be safe and to still run their business. I completely agree with you, Joe. I can't wait till we start to do that again. If we shut this down, it's just bad. It's just bad. All right. Who do I contact for a lawn sign of the Libertarian Party? Yes. Always go to your local LP. Your state LP will set you right up. Your state LP will. Absolutely. Yes. Jeremy, you gave me a message. I thought, let me check. I don't remember. Sometime when the messages come in, they go to that place where that spam folder. I don't always get to do that. So, Joe, you think they should have removed Trump? See, in my fake universe, I think it would have changed things, but I'm not sure for the better or for the worse, to be fair with you. I don't know if Trump's going to win or lose. I don't know how bad the country is going to be divided, right? And even if they had removed Trump, would Pence have not been any more divisive? I would hope he wouldn't have been. I would hope. Right now, Democrats, Republicans are super divisive. You're all watching it, right? Every Democrat's going, Trump is evil. Every Republican's going, all Democrats are socialists. So they're completely divisive, like there's no tomorrow. I would have hoped, I would hope that someone else would be less divisive, but I'm not sure they would have been. To be forward, I'm not sure they would have been. It might have just been another. I mean, that's what's kind of working. Fighting the other is right now effective, right? That's what's working. So I'm not sure that they wouldn't do it anymore. Yeah. All right. Policy and politics. Oh, do go on, Larry. Yes. And Joe, you being a libertarian like I am, you understand something. If you're a third-party candidate, you have to have policy. It's totally unfair and required. You have to have policy because rhetoric doesn't work when you're third party. Rhetoric works when it's us versus them, right? Democrat versus Republican, left versus right. You just go, oh, the other is evil, therefore I'm good, right? That it's a very easy rhetoric, no need for any policies. But if you don't have policies as third party, you're ignored. Nothing. The only thing that got me going, gave me any popularity in New York State is because I had so many different policies that somebody decided, oh, I like that policy. Ooh, I like that policy. So it was policies that got people to pay attention to me and even care about me at all. It wasn't because I'm so handsome. I mean, I am super handsome, but that isn't the reason, right? It was because of policy. So yes. They would just make Pence the next Hitler. See, there's a difference though, James. I think they would try. I totally agree. If Trump steps down, he's not going to, but he steps down tomorrow and Pence jumps in. I think absolutely Democrats will try to make Pence Hitler. I agree. But Pence doesn't have that. He doesn't have that record of being like that. He doesn't have that thing. I mean, he's super Christian, and I think people who don't like super Christians would call him that, but that's not Hitler, right? I mean, that's a different way. I'm not sure the Pence's Hitler would work. They would try it. I think you're right. I'm not sure it would work with Pence. I don't know. Pence will be worse, possibly. I don't know. I mean, he's conservative. That doesn't make him worse by default. He's actually more conservative than Trump is. But Trump has been very good to his conservative base. I don't think Trump's very conservative, to be fair with you. I don't think he is at all. I think he's very loyal to his conservative base. So he acts conservative to keep them happy, which is a smart move politically. I think Pence actually is conservative and would still keep the conservative base happy because he's conservative, not because he'd be pandering. I think Trump often panders to the conservatives because he wants them. I think Trump would just be conservative because he is. But I don't know. That's just my view. Making that move would have killed the Republican Party, and you would have sent a lot of voters home. See, this is my issue. In February, I would agree, John, it was possible. But now, what about the idea of COVID happening? Does COVID, or would COVID have allowed a Pence or whomever, I'm assuming Pence would have been the president if they had done that, would have allowed Pence to be the uniter, or to be the guy who says, I got you, we'll be fine, that kind of thing. I mean, Pence is a much more calmer hand. Trump is boisterous, he's open, yelling, screaming, he's that way. Pence is much more of a calm, cool hand. Would he have been able to navigate this better to make Americans feel good? Maybe. I don't really know. I love Trump and Larry. Yay! I'm happy. Thank you. Interesting thought. But what if Pence sucked an even bigger one on COVID than Trump? This other thing, right? What if Pence had really screwed up COVID? What if he had screwed it up? It's true. The advantage I think you might have had in this case, if you're a Republican, is that you could have then decided that, well, the primaries, we can't do primaries or whatever, and you could have then selected someone at convention, and convention's coming up now. So it could be, you go to convention, you go, oh, Pence isn't our nominee. He's just the president now because of the Constitution, because we removed Trump. And you could find somebody else. If he started screwing it up, they could prep somebody else. They could prep whoever would be their healer candidate, right? Whoever their healer candidate would be, right? I made up Jeb Bush. I don't know if he'd be the healer candidate, but whatever would be seen as the healer candidate, right? People, when times are in trouble, we look to the past often to find solace, to find comfort, right? Democrats are getting now. Democrats, one of the reasons why Democrats love Biden, and if you're a Democrat, you know this, right? One of the reasons why Democrats love Biden is it brings them back to the warm fuzziness of the Obama years, right? So they in their mind can go, oh, we're going back to a cool time. I think Republicans could have used this Jeb as, oh, back to the Bush era. He was keeping us safe. I think either party could have used this for an emotional a push either way. So you would have had a nation of conspiracy theorists. We already have that, John. We kind of already got that. So we kind of got that already. Yeah. Comic Geeks Unite. Yes. Sorry, I do. Yeah, it's true. Yes, absolutely. I was playing alternate universe game. I know some of you comic people are laughing about that, but yeah, there is a comic geek in me. So there we go. Oops, hold on. As a libertarian, I'm almost happy that Trump has been Teflon. It delegitimizes the party and gives us more of a chance to make gains. This is a great thing, right? There are as a third party or as a libertarian, there are some advantages to Trump that some libertarians don't want to hear, but there are some. Whether you support Trump's policies or not, Trump has broken the mold in many ways. I think Tyler's right, and he's opened up the concept that you don't have to be the same as always to get elected. We're falling back to that with Biden. I mean, Biden's establishment as they come, but even he has to now. He's got to get a black woman as a vice president to make something different. I think Trump has, without question, opened up the way for people who are not the traditional. I went to a certain school and I talk a certain way and I do a certain thing and I fit a certain category. I think he definitely has opened that us for. I think you're right, Tyler. In that regard, he absolutely has. So that is an advantage for us either way. Whether he wins or loses, I think it has helped us in that regard. The SCU, the Sharpe comic universe. I got to have a bunch of them, right? More Machiavellian. There we go. Things are so black. Yes, Laura, they're black and white right now. And we see it in many things. We see every single thing that pops up now has to be put into a black and white category. And usually not by who is my friend. Here's the worst part. But by who is my enemy. So there are two sides of something. Which side is my enemy? Then I'm the other side. Not even do these people or this group of people, whatever the case may be, do they think like I do or believe what I believe or hold my value? No. Who am I against? Okay, the opposite is me. I think you're totally right, Laura. That happens constantly. And it just happened on here on this. I posted the question, should Trump have been removed? And I think it was Joe, immediately went, you're out. Because he assumed I was against him, which means he's got to be on the other side. He's got to leave me. That was an assumption. I didn't even answer the question. So I think you're right. It's very much black and white. You're with us or you're against us, and that's it. Yes. Larry, besides bridges, tunnels, and roads, what other things can we lease naming rights to? Perhaps airports. Is there another way to raise money besides taxes? Yeah, I bring this up all the time, right? We want to try to find ways of raising money to where people and or companies are already paying, right? As a general rule, companies and people want to pay for things, right? We want to pay for things. We just want to get the value out of what we're paying for, right? We want to do that. So if you find the right people to pay for the right things, of course. I brought this up when it came to utilities, by the way, right? In New York City, and I'm sure in whatever city you guys live in, you tend to have one company that does all the power. In New York City, it's Con Ed, right? That's the company that basically provides the power for New York City, Con Ed. Con Ed has hundreds, if not thousands, of trucks. I've no idea how many trucks, tons of them, right? On Long Island, I think it's LIPA, Long Island Power Authority, or is it Lilco? I've actually forgotten which one it is on Long Island, but it's one company like that, right? So I'll say, for example, Con Ed, New York City. Con Ed has hundreds, if not thousands, of vehicles all around New York City, right? Great. Why are they advertising? They're a monopoly. Why are they advertising? Con Ed, New York City is a monopoly. Why are they advertising? Who are they competing against? No one. So instead of putting Con Ed on the side of each of those trucks, why aren't they leasing out space on those trucks? Right? I mean, think about that. If you buy one of those trucks that goes by and has a billboard truck, that's several $1,000s a month to lease that thing. Well, why aren't you leasing all those trucks? Lease all those trucks for ad space, for advertisements. There's your power bill. Boop, gone. Right there. Imagine how much you could do. If you got 2,000 trucks and you got $2,000 a month per truck, it's $400,000. Boom, right there. Every month, 400 grand a month. What's that? Is my math right? It's about $4 billion a year, give or take. Is my math right? Something like that. Whatever it is. $4 million a year, whatever that is. That's money. That's cash that you now can put directly towards our bills, right? And because they're a government-sponsored monopoly, we could say if you do that, that must go directly towards billing. And then you load everyone's power costs just like that. So of course, Avi, there's many ways you could find ways that people would happily spend the money without us, the taxpayer, having to pay more in taxes. Not required. There's many ways of doing it. The leasing, the naming rights was another one we talked about. There's tons of them, right? There's tons of them. So there's another way you can do it also is you use a credit for your taxes, right? And this is another idea I brought up in New York State, which is the idea that when your tax bill, you're paying your taxes to the state, your state taxes. Everyone, and this is an idea I brought up to fill what you're talking about, Avi. Everyone would have an option. You could take from whatever your tax bill is, you could take off $250 from that tax bill and instead give it to a charity in New York State. So you're still paying taxes, but not to New York State. You're instead giving it to a nonprofit in New York State. If you want to give it to a nonprofit in your county, you get an additional $250 to keep it local. So you take $500 that would be going to, in our case, New York State, Albany, and instead keep it local to a local nonprofit. Now, what would that mean? Nonprofits now would begin to try to support things that the government's doing. For example, childcare or a bus system or insert thing here, right? And they'd be asking you every year to give you their $500 if it's local or $250 if it's statewide. They'd be asking you for that money. And if you gave it every year, that's how they make money. Well, how do nonprofits have to make money? They make money by showing results. They show results. We keep paying them. So who's paying these people? The people who want to use the service or care about the service. Now, you might want a better bus system. Maybe you ride the bus. Maybe you don't, but you care about it because it matters for you, for your workers, or because you just care about your community or whatever. So you give your $500, which will be going to taxes. Now go there. What winds up happening? Well, now that private company or that private nonprofit starts becoming better and better. What does it mean? Well, now it competes with the government. That's what I want. Government gets better or goes away. If the government goes away, I've reduced spending. Well, now I can change my taxes, can't I? I can see that nonprofit, if it's successful, turn into private. Well, now I don't have to give anymore. So again and again, you can find ways of making that work. Absolutely. So yes, there are tons of ideas, but if you're a third party, you have to have policies so that people go, oh my God, yeah, I want to vote for you and not vote for the same old garbage and just start raising taxes. I hope that was a good answer for you. Yes. Larry, love the show. What are your thoughts on Mark Charles's presidential run? I don't know who Mark Charles is. I guess I'll have to check it out, see if I put him on my show. I don't know who he is. So I don't know what my thoughts are on that. Maybe good, maybe bad. Don't know who he is. So, all right. So Nathan says he loves Trump. Yes, I got you. Upstate Conservative here. Hey, Craig, glad you're here. Love it. Glad you're here. So Joe is here too. Yes. There was a rally in Albany against Cuomo today. I know. Sorry I couldn't make it, guys. I know there was. I'm glad. Yes. All right. Do you think the next generation will finally break the mold of the two-party system, or do you see it happening sooner? Odds are it'll be the next generation. Odds are it will. Something has to. We either have to make things change one of two ways: fast, usually significant emotional event, or slowly over time, tipping point. Right? Usually tipping point is the normal way of doing things. The fast overnight is almost always violence. So I'd rather not do violence, but there'll be a tipping point. I think the tipping point is in the area of 2024, 2028. That's my guess is what tipping point is. This year is going to be horrible after November. There's going to be a lot of unhappy people this year, probably sporadic violence. I'm not joking, probably sporadic violence. A lot of people checking out. So 2022 and 2024 will be critical years to kind of rebuild and get people back together and hopefully not divide them more. If we divide them more, sporadic violence. If we bring them back together, change. So my gut says 2024, 2028, Katie, that's what I think is when we're going to see real change. Yes. Democrat politicians are guilty of what they accuse Republican politicians of doing. Yes. Yep. Absolutely. Yes. All right. I want to ask, someone asked about running for governor, and I want to bring this up. And I'm talking about doing it as a third party versus doing it as a major party. Major party, it's relatively easy to be forward with. If you're doing it as a major party, you tend to follow what the major party people do. You get behind their banner. You attack the other, right? If you're in New York, you run as a Democrat. You can't be Cuomo, but in theory, if you can be Cuomo, you just attack Republicans as evil, and Democrats vote you in, and then you win. That's what Cuomo does. If you live in South Carolina, you take the Republican line, whoever that person is. You say Democrats are evil, and they vote for you, and you win. That's how it works. If you're in a purple state, or your state's actually unhappy, you've got a bigger chance, a better chance of actually making them happen if you have good policy. Policy is everything, but it's a second piece. The first thing you want to put together if you're going to run for governor is a policy team. If you're going to run for any big thing, governor, president, whatever, first thing's a policy team. You got to get a policy team together. You have to have something special. There's got to be a hook. Right? I mean, Bernie told us that Medicare for all, the 1%, that's the hook. Trump had to build that wall, right? I mean, someone's got to grab onto something so they can get why the hell do they going to care about you, right? So I think that's one of the pieces we want to talk about. If you're going to run for governor, you got to have some kind of policy you're going to jump on, right? Something. I had tons of them. Not all landed. The leasing naming rights thing, I mean, that really went well. The regulate like onions went well. You've got to have some kind of policy like that. But not just that. You've got to be prepared to cover the entire state. You just have to. If you live in a big state, then you got a big task. And those of you know, when I ran for governor, I crossed my state twice. I hit every single county twice. That's what I did. You have to do it. There's just no way around it. You've got to get out there and hit everyone. You just have to. There's no way around it. You've got to do it. If you don't do it, you're not going to win or even make any impact as third party. New York State was still is the least free state ranked by Cato. Least free. And we got ballot access for the first time. We got 100,000 votes for the first time ever. Why? Because I crossed the entire state and because I had policy. We made impact. That's why we have ballot access now. If you don't want to do that, you can't make impact. So anyone thinking about running, can you make it if you're going across your state, and let's say Rhode Island's a small state, maybe Rhode Island's an exception, but with the exception of a state like Rhode Island, you've got to be prepared to basically not work. I didn't work for a year and a half. For those of you who know, I did not work for a year and a half. I took a year and a half off, no salary. You can imagine what my finances are like. Why am I always bugging you for cash? Well, now you know why. Because I took a year and a half off of my salary. That's why I couldn't run. People wanted me to run for president this year. No way I could have done it. Just impossible. I couldn't have taken the time off. I couldn't have taken the crush in my income. Couldn't have done it. And I'm not prepared to run if I can't give you 100%. Because I ask a lot of you when I run. Those of you who were part of my campaign, you watched. I ask a lot of you. Why? Because I give a lot. If I'm going to give a lot, I can ask a lot. I'm going to do it half. I'm not going to ask you for that. It's not worth it. I wouldn't even do it. And that's why I didn't do it. For those of you wondering why, that's why I didn't bother running. There was no way I could give you all of that. If you're going to run, it's a serious run. You're doing at least 6 days a week. At least one day off, rest, whatever, but you got to be out there all the time. You got to be creating content. You saw I was go living sometimes 2, 3, 4 times a day, putting content out there. I was crazy. It's a lot of work running. It's not easy at all. It is very hard. If you're running just because, hey, I'm going to chill out and hang out and be in my house, why are you running? You're wasting our time. You're wasting our money. You're wasting our emotion. You're wasting people who are part of third parties. And some of you are Republicans, Democrats, but some of you are actually part of a third party. Green, a lot of you Libertarians, obviously. If you're a part of our party, you put your emotion into this. You do. Lots of people who are mainstream Democrat, Republican, they don't. Some do, don't get me wrong. But many are just, that's who I am because that's who I am. And they move on. And it's not really, it's a thing they do kind of on election or when people ask. But it really isn't a major part of their life. If you're part of a third party, it's part of your life. That's how it works. We're very much like a family. And I'm not going to take that away from you. I wouldn't do it. So if you're going to run for governor, take it seriously, build a policy team, cross your entire state. Do that. If you can't do that, don't run. Don't do it. And the next thing to remember is when you're running as a third party, whether it's Libertarian, Conservative, Constitution, Green, doesn't matter. If you're on third party, any press is good press. Let me say it again. Any press is good press. I was talking to one group of independents who are trying to think about running for president. And they were like, well, Larry, we've got some money. And what we'll do is, we'll run a poll. And if we do well in a poll, we'll publish it. I said, no, you won't. No. You'll publish no matter what. They said, what? It's the fact you're in a poll is all that matters. I don't care how bad you do. You're in the poll. This blows the mind of people who run Democrat, Republican because they only want to publish positive polls. That's it. No, if you're in a poll, that's amazing if you're third party. You got in a poll? Oh, my God. Post it. What are you doing? Of course you would. Different mindset. So there's a different mindset when running third party. I hope that answers your question. I went a bit long, but I hope I answered your question. Yes. I'm always interested in what you have to say. Basically, the Republicans could have reduced the anger by removing Trump. Yes, that's the funny thing, right? The reality of it is it's reversed from 2016, right? So many people hated the establishment, hated Hillary, that Trump was like a breath of fresh air for so many people. It's like, oh my God, Trump. He's a breath of fresh air. People were voting against Hillary, and then the Republicans were super motivated to vote against Hillary, and Trump wins. Absolutely. Now you've got, and that was heavily the right, obviously. I mean, the left too a little bit, but heavily the right. Now the right, it's the opposite. The left is super motivated to vote against Trump. They're not voting for Biden. I mean, some are. Don't get me wrong. There are some Democrats who love Biden, and there's a part of the hardcore Democrats that, again, look to Biden as a way of looking back upon the Obama years and how wonderful it was. And it was all perfect back then, right? There's some of that, Patrick. But a lot of it is they hate Trump and they're voting against Trump. And a lot of people voted against Hillary in 2016. So it's kind of reversed here. So if the Republicans had actually removed Trump, that part of the argument's gone. So now Democrats have to actually have a good Democrat. Now they don't. Now they just have to have a Democrat. I mean, I think Biden would be a fool to debate. And again, some of you Democrats would be angry at me for saying this, but I'm just being forward. If Biden debates Trump, I think Trump is going to eat his lunch badly. He's going to come out hammering, fighting. And when it comes to fighting, tough to beat Trump. Tough to beat him. It could be done. He's not perfect. Trump's not perfect. He could be beaten, but difficult. A challenge. I'm not sure Biden's up for it. I don't know how Biden will look if he tries. If I'm Biden's manager, I'm like, start coughing because you ain't debating. But if he debates, he's going to be in trouble. But what if it wasn't Trump? What if it was Pence or whomever they put, Jeb Bush, insert person here? Democrat has to debate. Has to. Because it's not, I hate Trump anymore. That goes away. That's the point I was bringing up, right? Now, Biden doesn't have to debate. And if he does debate, which he shouldn't if he does, and he's a fool, they'll find some reason to, I don't know, validate it and still vote anti-Trump. This is an anti-Trump vote for the vast majority of Democrats. I mean, probably 99% of Democrats are voting I hate Trump, not pro, right? Not pro Biden. So anyway, yeah, I think if they had removed Trump, the Republicans could have been, if they had the right person in place, the group who would have tried to help heal. They could have done that. It was a possibility. But how would they have known that, right? I mean, it would have had to been a Machiavellian move in February to kind of retake the Republican Party away from Trump is what they would have to have been doing. They would have had to have someone who was going to do that thing, whatever that is, ready to do it, and to take the slings and arrows that would have come from that, and then rebuild. Would have been a tough order, but I think it was possible. All right. If Larry sounded like Morgan Freeman, he'd be president by now. See that? That's my problem. I need a Morgan Freeman speech coach. That's what I need. Thank you. Yes. Removing Trump wouldn't have mattered. It's about controlled opposition. They don't want unification because division creates more opportunity to control the general populace. Israel, this is a very good point. Very good point, right? It would have had to be people who selfishly wanted themselves to be in charge because they were angry at Trump and they wanted to, like, it would have been a group of people who wanted, their oligarchy to be in charge versus Trump's. I think it would have had to be that. It would have been an internal Republican Party civil war, but I think you are totally right. People do like it to be divided because, again, there's no need for policy, right? If I can keep coming up with wedge issues and just point the finger at the other guy, I don't have to have policy. Absolutely. Yes. Joe Biden campaign says he's so close to being a VP, he can smell her. Yeah. Good joke, Pete. And I'm sure he will be. Well, he'll probably stop the smelling for a while, right? You don't want any more pictures of, you have enough pictures of him smelling people. You probably don't want him smelling people anymore. Yes, you probably don't. Yeah. Yeah. So he should have been impeached and removed for the Syrian misadventure alone. Obama for Libya, George W. Bush for Iraq, Clinton for the Balkans, George for the Gulf War, Reagan for the Contra crap. Yeah, I can't argue with you, James. I can't argue with you. You could find a reason to remove every president since, I don't know, Washington. I don't know, probably every one of them. You probably could have figured out how to use all of them. But there would have been an advantage, though. I mean, you bring up a valid point, James. If you never remove a president, do presidents learn? I know it sounds crazy, right? But do presidents learn? I'm not sure, right? I mean, if you look at Nixon, he stepped down. Did we get better presidents after Nixon? I think we got more. Maybe did we get more honest president? Maybe. I mean, was Ford more honest? I think he was. I'm too young to actually know that, so I don't remember. I mean, I remember Ford as president. I'm old to remember him as our president, but I was a kid, so I don't really know if he was more or less honest. I remember Jimmy Carter. I remember liking Jimmy Carter. I thought he was a nice guy. I remember that as a kid. But was he a good president? Or more honest president? Probably. I would assume so. I mean, he did that Playboy magazine where he talked about sitting in his heart or something like that. So he probably was more honest. So maybe. So let's see. Hold on. He's the best president we've ever had. Trump 2020. Okay, I'm not sure I'm going to go there. Best president I've ever had? I'm not going to go there. I'm not ready to go there. Not ready to go there. President election time is always my least favorite time. It's that horrible. It is. Absolutely. It really is. Absolutely. Yes. Is it still socialism if it's Republican socialism? Remember something, Pete. It's okay to be authoritarian as long as you're my authoritarian. Right? That's all that matters. If you're my authoritarian, then it's good. No worries. Absolutely. Good. The reason why I favor removing Trump is because it would be a step towards normalizing calling out unconstitutional actions. This is what I was kind of talking about earlier, Joe. There's some value to that. Maybe did the impeachment do that? Right? I don't think. I remember, was it Olympia Snow? I think it was her who said, I think Trump learned his lesson from the impeachment. Remember that? And I know that Nancy Pelosi was saying he'll be impeached forever. I don't think Trump cares at all. I think that's nothing for him. I think he bounced off of that. I don't think it bothered him. But I do think some people would care, right? I think Clinton cares tremendously. He's been trying to fix his, legacy forever from that. I think Clinton cares a lot. I don't think Trump cares. I think he's like, whatever, you hit me again, I bounce off and I keep moving. I don't think he cares about that. But I think some presidents would. So maybe there is some value to doing it for the presidents who would actually care. Maybe it would stop some of them. Maybe. Yes. I missed the first part. The fact that you are questioning whether the only decent president we've had since Reagan should be removed cast serious raises doubt in my comedy ability to lead New York. Look at that. See that? This is Jonathan, you like Joe. Oh my God, Larry Sharpe said something I don't like. So now he said something bad. You're putting me into that, with us or against us. Left versus right. With us or against us. Jonathan, stop that. Have you not been paying attention to me? Don't I go out of my way to not do the left versus right paradigm? Yeah, of course not. Of course I question it. I will question him, Obama, Bush, Clinton, you, me, every one of them. Absolutely. Every one of them I question, without a doubt. Trump is not perfect. He's not. Neither was Obama, neither was any of them. Neither are me and neither are you. You're not perfect either. So I question them all. All of them. Every one of them. Yes, I am super handsome. Thank you. Yes. Let's see here if I can keep going. Every 4 years, like clockwork, our nation's IQ plummets during election season. I make this joke all the time. And I say that, humans are the opposite of insects when it comes to intellect. If you have an individual ant or individual bee flying around or walking around, it's just almost a drone. Or literally a drone. That's what it is, a drone. But put it in a collective, and it's super smart. Now it's got hive mind, and it's brilliant. There's all kind of cool things, all kind of great stuff, all awesome. Take humans, the individual human, very often very smart, savvy, common sense. Put them in a group, stupid. Groupthink. Groupthink. Stupid. Now all of a sudden we're dumb. But Pete, you were so smart a minute ago. Oh, now you with everyone thinks just like you. Now groupthink. Now you're dumb. You were just so smart. I see it all the time. I feel like when that happens, we just get into the us versus them battle every 4 years, and it's just us versus them, and it's I don't care what anyone's thinking. I'm going to follow right behind like everybody else. I think you're right. I think you're right. I don't think Trump is loyal to his base at all. Really, I feel the opposite, John. I think he is. I feel like Trump is pretty good to his base. I feel like he is. I think he's been trying to. I think he's been trying to put policies. I think he's been trying his best to be loyal to his base. I think he's great. Judges is clear, right? His conservative base. He's been very pro-religion, part of his base. I feel like maybe I'm wrong. I'm an outsider. I'm not a Republican. I'm a Libertarian. So maybe I'm wrong here. I'm not part of his base. But I feel like from an outsider, he's been pretty loyal to his base. I feel like he has. So Trump is a Democrat with an R after his name. I've heard many people say that. But I don't think he might be that in his personal life. But obviously I don't know Trump at all. He might be that. I haven't seen that in his governing, with the exception of when he went nuts on the guns. And he was like, get rid of them, take the guns first. Then I was like, whoa, he's got some Democrat tendency in there. I see that. That's when I saw the Democrat tendency. But I don't know. I maybe in his personal life. I feel like if he was more of a Democrat, I feel like, unless you want to go old school Democrat, like 1970s Democrat, 1980s Democrat, maybe, right? The party wasn't so left then. I mean, there was a left, peace Democratic Party, even in the 60s and 70s. Of course there was. But I think the party as a whole, Democratic Party as a whole, is far more left than it was in the 70s or the 80s. So maybe old school? I mean, Trump is in the 70s. So if you were to call him maybe an old school Democrat, maybe. All right. That all the past presidents have had empathy, a sense of humor, and leadership qualities. As for Trump, it is rare to see him smile or hang out with his young son or have any pets. I don't think Trump is happy, nor is he healthy mentally or physically. He won't last in the 4 years. Interesting idea. I'm trying to think about what you're saying. I think he's had a sense of humor. He struggles with empathy. That's for sure. I mean, there's no doubt he struggles with empathy. That's for sure. And you're right. I've never seen him have a pet either. Interesting. I think his sense of humor, I mean, I don't always agree with it, but I think he has one of those. Yeah, he doesn't hang out with his kids very much at all. That's true. I think that's true. I feel like Trump is always looking for the next thing. And I feel like that's why he's not happy. I think you're right. I think Trump isn't happy. But I think it's because he's always looking for the next thing. Like he gets it. He's like, okay, got that, next. Oh, got that, next. Got that, next. I think he's always looking for the next thing. And I don't think he actually sits back and says, let me enjoy this right now. That's my feeling. Again, I don't know the man. But I see where you're coming from. I definitely see where you're coming from. Indiana was glad to see Pence go. He had a nonstop power fight with another state official, down to creating a shadow Department of Education. Wow. Didn't know that. Terrible. Wow. Well, then I'm glad he's not president. Good. I actually think not would have saved the Republican Party. I don't know. I'm not sure the Republican Party's dead. I'm not saying it's dead. If Trump gets his butt kicked, if that happens, Republican Party is dead. Right? I'm not sure that's going to happen. But if the Republican Party gets its butt kicked, if November comes and they lose the Senate and they lose it, they're in trouble. If that happens, I think it would be a problem. Absolutely. Otherwise, I'm not sure it's done yet. I'm not sure it's done yet. Congrats, Larry. Just lost my support. I'm not sure I had it, Jonathan. If you don't know me well enough if you think that. Please come back. It's not necessary. Come back. Come back. They called Gerald Ford the uniter, and he didn't fare well against Carter. It's a valid point. But then again, the second Bush, he ran on uniter, not divider, and won. I'm not sure. Ford didn't have a personality that I remember. It's not memorable for me, right? I remember Bush's personality. Everybody was like, we could have a beer with him and all that kind of good stuff. I feel like Ford didn't have the personality. You could be a uniter. I think you could. I think the second Bush at least started that way, at least. I think Obama tried that game. Remember, he was doing the, if you remember, he was doing the, there's not two Americas, there's one America. If you go first term Obama and before, right? First term Obama and before, almost every president was in some way at least talking the rhetoric of being a uniter. Even Obama was his first term. His second term, Obama, I think, was the first time that the actual executive changed. The country began doing this, I think, heavily during the Vietnam War, right? That really began to open us up tremendously a lot from left and right. That was a huge a gap for us, right? The Nixon years, the Johnson years, that was a big thing for us, tearing our country apart. And then Congress was doing this, and for a long time, right? For decades, Congress was doing it. And I think the biggest chunk was probably Newt Gingrich and the contract with America. That was probably the biggest obvious split, right? That was again, it was happening before. I'm not blaming Newt Gingrich for this at all, but I'm saying that was like the obvious, there it is, boom. Congress is divvying us up, right? That's like the end of the Tip O'Neill, Ronald Reagan era. I think is Newt Gingrich just going boom, split. And then when it came to the executive, I think Obama made that final split. His second term was like, I don't care about Republicans. I care about my people coming out to vote, and that's it. He didn't care if it's one America, two Americas. I don't care. I want my second term, and he was all about Democrats. And then when Trump came on, Trump just doubled down. He's like, oh, that's how we play? Let me show you how to play. And Trump was just the divider in chief. I think it began way before Trump. I think in Congress, the one that you can look at a time when it really split was Gingrich. Then it began as an executive under Obama, and then Trump just opened up on like this tomorrow. So let's hope some of these guys decide to come back, since I've lost them for some reason. I don't know why I've lost them. Have I changed who I am? I don't think I have. So I hope I haven't. I feel like I haven't. We'll see. Maybe I have. All right. Lawrence Armstrong, if he shouldn't have been impeached, then I'm not sure what impeach. Okay. He's talking to someone else, not me. I'm sorry. I can't believe I'm grateful for Trump, but I'm afraid Pence would have done a national lockdown. Hannah, you know what? That's a very good point. That might have happened. You know what? That might have happened. And again, but the problem, there's two parts, right? I'm a libertarian. So of course, I don't want that. But there's a part of this country that would have been happy. I mean, if you look actually at New York State, which is obviously a Democrat state, but Republicans in New York State, most of them early on were actually okay with Cuomo. They were liking what Cuomo was doing early on. Then they think he went too far. But initially, they were okay with it. So I don't know. The country might have been happy with it. I wouldn't have been. But, the country might have been happy. They might have been like, yay, put us in cages. the country might have been happy with it. Maybe. I honestly believe that most people are really libertarian if they truly understand what libertarians believe. I think you're right. And I know that a number of people feel disenfranchised from the two-party system. However, I'm struggling with the best and most effective way to carve through the noise and bring the libertarian platform forward. I have no interest in running for office, but what do you think is the next best thing we do to spread the word on the platform, not the people? I think the answer actually is having more conversations about the right outcomes. If you start with the right outcomes, people tend to at least hear you. When you don't have the right outcomes, they don't want to hear you. If we start talking about the method, like let's use the free market, people on the left turn right off. If we say we should, let's change the drug war, people on the right turn off. So you got to talk about what do you want in the end game, right? What do you want in the end game? If you say, well, I want better schools, they'll hear you. I want safer environment, safer streets, they'll hear you, right? Most libertarians, want the same things as Republicans and Democrats. They just don't want to go about it the same way. So I think that's really the right answer, is talking about how we can get there. And then when a person has a left-right paradigm, tell them, why are you doing that? Right? I just lost. Was Jonathan just got mad at me? Why? Left-right paradigm. He's decided that I'm either 100% with him or I'm against him. Why is he doing that? I hope everyone else sees that. You can disagree with me and we can still have friends, still be friends. You can disagree with me. I'm a libertarian and libertarians are always mad at me, always about something. There's always someone, oh, Larry Sharpe's great, but this, but that, constantly. And that means we actually trust each other and respect each other. And I know many people disagree with me on different things I say. We can still be allies. We can still try to make our country better. So I think you have to break up that left-right paradigm, which makes us versus them, which means the long run of us versus them is always violence, because the first step is dehumanizing. Remember something. When the average conservative person uses the phrase liberal, that's not a descriptor. That's an insult. When the average liberal uses the phrase or word, the word conservative, that's not a descriptor. That's an insult, right? It's a derogatory term. Those are terms being used to dehumanize the enemy. I'm not joking when I say that. When we go, damn liberals, damn conservatives, they mean that as a way to dehumanize them, right? So they're not real. So if they die, if they get in trouble, if they flee, who cares? My governor said it. No room for conservatives in New York State. He said it. I never said that. I want conservatives to stay. People earlier said, "Oh, there's conservatives on your page." Good. Stay. I'm not complaining. Stay. And if you get mad at me, and come back. It's fine. We'll disagree on lots of things, and we'll agree on others. It's fine. Come back. And if you tell me stuff, I'll talk to you. I'll actually put you up, and you can tell me how wrong I am, and we'll talk. Right? And some of you have reached out to me, and I've had you on the show. We've changed my mind. It happens. So the answer is always, do we want the same outcome? If we want the same outcome, then let's do it. All right. Will you watch the XFL now that The Rock has bought it? I'm going to tell you how I feel as I get older. When I was younger, I liked sports a lot. When I was in my 20s, I used to watch baseball all the time, football all the time, hockey all the time, basketball here or there. I like basketball too. I was a Knicks fan, New York Islander fan, New York Giants fan, big Yankee fan, huge Yankee fan. As I get older, I only watch playoff sports because that's the win or go home. I love playoff sports. I will watch that. I'll watch playoff soccer. I'm not a big soccer fan, but World Cup, I watch World Cup. That's championship soccer. I will watch the World Cup. But if you put a soccer game up, I'm not going to watch it. World Cup, I'm going to watch it. So I'm all about championship sports. So I will watch the playoffs, but the actual games, probably not. Just tell you the truth, probably not. So, all right. In my humble opinion, Trump's America is still better than Hillary America, and I'm not ready for a Biden-Clinton presidency or another 4 years of Trump. It's time to get back to the Constitution. Rights all the time. Vote gold. Joe20.com. Look, I'm with you, right? I mean, I get we made a mistake as a country when Trump got elected, and I don't mean voting for Trump. That's not what I mean. I mean, when he got elected, so many people who are either in the middle or middle left or left immediately attacked everybody who voted for Trump. Like, oh, you're a racist. Oh, you're evil. Oh, you're terrible. But a lot of people voted for Trump because of what you just said, Ryan. They didn't want Hillary. I get it. I totally get it. Totally get it. Right? They didn't want Hillary. And they were like, I'll take Trump. He's not Hillary. Fine. Hillary's a disaster. I don't want her. I get it. I totally understand that. But when, as a country, the center left and left began to attack everybody who voted for Trump, they solidified even harder against Democrats. They solidified even harder for Trump. People who were just, Trump's fine, but he's not Hillary. Those who became Trump, yeah, because of the attacks that we put upon them. What we should have done is instead, what Trump was it wasn't that Trump was so great. It's not the reason why I got elected. I mean, obviously he was a good campaigner without question. He's still an amazing campaigner. That's true. But that's not the reason why he was elected. And many reasons why. But what it really was, it was an attack on the establishment. He was the non-establishment candidate. That's clearly what it was, right? Why did Bernie almost win the nominee in 2016 if it wasn't for Democrats literally just basically stealing it away from him? He was the non-establishment Democrat. We were looking for a non-establishment. And I think Trump was that. And instead of us as a country, as a nation going, why in the world we pick someone who was so anti-establishment? You know what? Maybe our system's broken. Maybe we don't have a good establishment. Maybe our establishment sucks. Maybe that's why we voted for this guy who's totally anti-establishment. Maybe our establishment sucks. We didn't. We went either Trump is perfect or Trump is evil. And we didn't focus on the biggest thing he was telling us, which was the establishment sucks. The establishment sucks. Why did Bernie have any chance? Why is AOC popular? Does anyone even know what her policies are besides Medicare for all, whatever she has? No, she's anti-Democrat establishment. That's the reason why. So we totally dropped the ball on this. I think you're totally right, Ryan. We dropped the ball on this. We should have looked for what Trump did. In fact, to be fair with you, even Obama. I mean, the country's been trying to get anti-establishment for at least a decade. Obama was, in theory, he actually wasn't, but he looked the part. That's what I'll say. He looked the part and spoke the part of anti-establishment. That's why he beat Hillary, right? Hillary, and some of you I'm sure like Hillary. I don't want to insult anybody who likes Hillary. I'm just being very full. You would agree with me. I'm sure she is the poster child for establishment. No doubt. Even if you love Hillary, I get it. She's the poster child for establishment. She lost to Obama in 2008, when in theory, if you're a Democrat, you should have voted for her, right? She should have won the Democrat in 2008. Obama beats her there. Then Bernie almost beat her in 2016, right? And then Trump beats her in 2016. The country's been trying to get away from the establishment for at least a decade. Trump is the example. Here, we don't want establishment. And we're not changing the system when that's what his election actually was. So there we go. Good. Let's see. Larry has a great point. Trump may have taken the biggest question mark away from being a factor of having a never been elected prior POTUS. Yes, another great point, right? What does Trump always say? One of his biggest things he talks about. I ran for president once and I won. He's right. So can us. So can us. So can we. Good English that I have. So can we. Absolutely. Yes. What are your favorite comic books? Tom King's Mr. Miracle is a new favorite of mine. I don't read comics that much anymore. It's very rare now that I read comic books. I used to read them a lot. Now I hardly ever do. In fact, when I was a kid, so you might know this, I was a huge comic book fan. I had subscriptions. This is back in the 70s and the 80s when they used to mail them to you. I know, crazy. They used to mail. I had like 10, 12 subscriptions, and I used to go to comic book conventions. And I tell the story often and it makes some people want to cry. I was a big collector. I literally had an Avengers #1. I had an Iron Man #1. I had a Captain America like number 10. I like a Superman like number 50 or something like that. A bunch of old comics. Went up to Marine Corps. My mom threw them all out. Got rid of them all gone. Lost all of them. I had tons of like amazing comic books. Tons of them. I had for those of you who don't remember this, some of you old school might remember this. There was they had a limited series. They had in I think it was late 70s, they were trying to reboot Godzilla. and they had a Godzilla 24 set. I had all 24. They had a Micronauts one. I had all 24 of those. So I had all the sets and everything in plastic, the whole deal. I was a big fan. But the most recent comics that I've liked, I like the Doom series. I'm a big fan of Dr. Doom. It's my favorite villain, Dr. Doom. Victor Von Doom, for those of you who don't know. And I think my favorite comic book characters, my heroes have always been the same. I like comic book heroes who are not magical or powerful in any way, who are just human. So I like Iron Man and I like Batman. These are just humans who use technology and or their brain to be great. Those are the ones I like. I don't like guys like the Hulk or Thor who are gods and powerful because they're born powerful. I like the people who use their tragedy and their pain to be better, who use their intellect and technology to be stronger and faster and to beat people up. So I also like flawed characters because I'm flawed and I think we're all flawed. And I like the flawed character, which is why I think DC as a general rule prior to the 60s, one reason why it failed in the 60s and it had to reboot itself is because most of its characters were perfect. They were obviously good versus evil always. The only flawed character they ever had in DC earlier was Batman. And I think that's why he stayed so long, because he was a flawed character. Marvel had tons of flawed characters, which is why I like Marvel, except for Batman. I like Marvel. So anyway, I hope I answered your question. And my favorite of all time, The Dark Knight, Frank Miller, Batman. My favorite comic of all time. That's my favorite. Second series is the Doom series, but The Dark Knight, my favorite, and then the Doom series. All right. Legalize marijuana that can bring lots of money to communities without taxation. Yes, absolutely. Right. Regulate like a plant. I love that. 100%. All right. Yes, people were begging for a candidate that wasn't a career politician. Yes, 100%. Yes, absolutely. Ultimate Warrior or Macho Man? That's a great question. I was leaving the wrestling world at that time, right? Remember, I'm old. I'm in my 50s. I still remember the 70s. I still remember Chief Jay Strongbow and my namesake, Pretty Boy Larry Sharpe, who actually passed away a couple years ago. In fact, he was always number one in Google until he passed away, sadly. And now I'm number one in Google, right? I remember Bob Backlund, Bruno Sammartino, all those guys. Some of you people as old as me remember these people. I remember those days of wrestling. So I guess probably Macho Man, if I had to pick one of the two. Did Macho Man pass? Yeah, probably Macho Man is probably one I have to pick of those two. Yes. Thank you. It's Loco. Yes, thank you. Absolutely. Yes. Why would you ask the question when you know the answer? Because I wanted to have a conversation, Ramon. That's why. I wanted to have a conversation is the reason why. That is the reason why. Yes. I think the biggest threat we libertarians face is the wasted vote. Most Democrats, Republicans, when they win, usually get 25% each between. That's below 40% of the outcome. I think you have a very valid point, Michael, that we need to be getting more people to decide to vote for us, because even if we lose the election, we move people towards us, right? When there is a third party in the election, again, it goes back to the idea of having to have a policy. If it's just he's evil, yeah, but there's another guy here who's not evil. Do I have to pick you, or can I pick them instead? When that begins to happen, they have to actually have policies. And that's what I want. That's exactly what I want. So, all right. Larry, I'm not loyal to a political party, nor am I religious either. There are positives to the various political parties. Is it wrong to whine about two-party system because we have multiple political parties? It is wrong. Yes. I agree with some of the Libertarian Party, but then there are other aspects of your party that aren't too radical to get passed by the majority. The big two major parties have the popularity because they have the approval of the majority of the people. There are a couple of things, Patrick, I want to touch this. This is a very good point I want to bring up. If you guys watch me, and one of the reasons why so many people keep talking to me and keep watching me and still keep paying attention is I don't do what most libertarians do. You don't ever hear me talking about let her debate. I don't do that. You don't hear me talking about break duopoly. I say break the left-right paradigm. Yeah, I do. But I always say the same thing. If we are going to be a political party that has value, it's going to be because we're popular enough. You're right. Popularity matters. So we have to become more popular. But there are some structural pieces that you may or may not know. For example, ballot access. For someone of a third party to just get on the ballot, the two-party system physically stops that from happening in many states. So you don't actually get a choice. If you were to make ballot access easier, I think you'd be right. But it's changing. New York State, they're changing the rules. I got ballot access for New York State, and now they're changing the rules to make it harder. Democrats, Republicans don't have to worry about that. They will get on the ballot. If you run as a Republican, you'll be on the ballot. Libertarian, Green, Independent, you might not be on the ballot to give the person a choice. That's an institutional piece that needs to be fixed. So that part of what you're saying is not true. That part isn't true. Second, polling. Polling companies to get a poll costs $20,000, $40,000, $50,000. So how can small parties afford that? It's tough. They're not in polls. And then the press doesn't demand it. The press goes, whatever poll comes out, we take. The press doesn't say, I'm not going to put a poll out if you don't have everybody in it. To be fair with you, I was in New York in 2018. I was a legitimate legal candidate running for governor, and they wouldn't put me in polls. I wasn't some guy who wanted to. I got my party nomination. I raised 6 figures. I had a team. I was going across the state, and they wouldn't put me in polls. Now, I don't blame Democrats, Republicans for not putting me in polls. That makes sense for them. I get that. But then why wouldn't the media go, we're not going to talk about this poll unless you put all the candidates in? They don't. That's an institutional piece. And the reason is the big parties spend the money on the ads. Little parties don't. So there's a part to this that's institutional, right? Ballot access is one. Access to the press is another. Access to the debate stage. Same thing, right? We talk about it all the time. It's debate stage. Same issue, right? There's a group that deals with the debates, presidential debates, right? They only put left and right on. That's it. Nobody else. They won't put anyone else on. So it doesn't matter if you're a third party or not. Now, how do you fix that? We can cry and whine about it. I tend not to. Many people do, and they sue, and it's a waste of time. Or they go, let him debate, let her debate. Waste of time. My answer is the same thing. Be more popular. I was joking about this to your point, Patrick. And I was saying that if Kanye West actually ran, I don't know what he's doing. I have no idea if this is a joke or if it's real. But if he actually runs, he's on the debate stage. Guaranteed. Doesn't matter if he's running an independent party, the Kanye West party, the TV party. He runs debate stage. Why? He's popular. People would want to watch him debate. We have to have candidates that people want to watch debate. If we don't have that, we're not watching. One reason why I'm doing what I'm doing now is so that people see me, know who I am. If I run again, that guy Larry's fun. Watch him debate. Boom, I get on the debate stage. So I get what you're saying, and I tend to not do that. I tend to just keep trying to be more popular, keep having good ideas, keep doing this kind of thing so that people care. But there are institutional pieces that actually do hold us back, like debates, like polling, like the press, those types of things. So there are things like getting on the ballot. There are some of those things that do actually affect us. I hope that was clear. Great idea on leasing advertising space, but no one is jumping on board because it wasn't conceived by the two major parties. You're correct, Tony. You're correct. And right now the status quo works. So why change? Status quo works. Why change? And sadly, I think New York State will go bankrupt before it does these things. I'm not joking. Cuomo will take us to bankruptcy before he will do these ideas because they're not his. Exactly right. Yes. Yep. Great idea about selling ad space in the trucks, but I don't think Mr. Burns is going to like it. Cute, Paul. Yes, absolutely. But again, if we're going to grant these people monopolies, then why not take advantage of it, right? I would never want to do this to a private company, right? To some private company that's out there doing stuff. Why would I do that? Of course not. But if I'm going to grant them a monopoly, which is what we've done, then take advantage of it, right? I've given you monopoly status. Well, then you're going to lower our tax base. Otherwise, why am I giving you monopoly status? Because you happen to be big? No, not good enough. Yes. For roads, trucking companies pay per mile on the IFTA. It is at the state fuel tax. Okay, different issue. Gotcha. Okay. Let's see here. Libertarians would need to get 60% to win, but even if we get 5% of the national vote, that would be big, and I think someday we'll win the White House someday. I think our big push, to tell you the truth, Michael, is 2024, 2028. At that point, 2024, Trump won't be regardless whether he wins or loses, Trump will not be the incumbent. So that would be better for us in general, right? So I think it'll be a better chance for us 2024, 2028. I think that will happen. But more importantly, while I hope we win the presidency, of course I do. The reality of it is we're probably not going to. But more importantly, we have to win locally first. Because if we win locally first, several things happen. This is what a lot of people don't get. Why do I keep pushing local candidates on my daytime Libertarians Drinking Coffee live show? Why do I push them so much? What do I talk about? Why do I help them so much? Because if locally candidates begin to win, several things happen. Number one, the local populace goes, oh, Libertarians can run things and the world doesn't end. Number one, people will be more open to just saying, okay, Libertarians are okay. Number two, other candidates locally will go, wait a minute, if Libertarians have a say, I have to move myself more towards Libertarians so I can get those votes. That's important too. Even if we lose, but we get close, other candidates will have to move towards Libertarianism. I'll take that. I will take better Republicans and better Democrats if I can get them. I'd rather have that. Don't get me wrong, I want to have Libertarians. But if I can't get Libertarians, give me better Democrats and better Republicans, those that move more towards liberty, right? I'd rather have a Rand Paul, right? Even though he's Republican, I'd rather have, he leans liberty at least, right? I'd rather have that. I'd rather Tulsi Gabbard, she leans liberty at least. I'd rather have that, right? If I can take that, I'll take them, right? They're not Libertarians. I get it. They're Democrats, Republicans. I understand. But if I can move them more towards that, I'm in. So I think that would also help. But on top of that, you begin to build infrastructure underneath to where when an executive actually wins, he or she now has others underneath who can support that person so you can actually get policies done. It'd be nice if we win the presidency or a governorship, but if we can't get anything done, a whole lot harder. So yes, absolutely. So regulate like onions. Thank you, Eric. Absolutely. Yeah. Where am I going here? Trump loved Epstein. Yeah, but so did everybody, right? It's an attack on Trump, but it's an attack on Biden too, and the Clintons and everybody else. So, it's kind of everybody. Just saying. It's kind of everybody. So the next generation is used to being able to do anything on their own. Two parties isn't enough. Well, I like that. That's good. We're showing the government's absolute failure in the last 6 months finally been a catalyst for this decade, like 9/11 was for the catalyst for the war on terror into 2000s. James, this is a worry I have. I really do. That the COVID failure, when government fails, as a general rule, what do? Give it more power. I know it sounds good, but you saw it, right? 9/11 hits, government gets more power. COVID hits, government gets more power. You see how many governors now are signing executive orders on all kinds of things, and we're doing nothing. That is my biggest worry, is that this will be the next step that pushes us even closer to a police state. And again, if you're a Democrat, you're happier if it's a Democrat state. If you're a Republican, you're happier if it's a Republican state. But what if you're not? What if you're a Republican in New York State and you got Cuomo doing every single executive order he wants? Or you're a Democrat in South Carolina. I don't know who the South Carolina governor is, but whoever that governor is now, signing executive orders that are going against what you want. It's fine when it's your guy or gal. What happens when it isn't? Right? And then even they go too far. I talk about that. People who like authoritarianism. It's fine if you're on the right side of the gun, right? If you're against the wall, you're against the wall and on the wrong side of the gun, authoritarianism, not so great. If you're on the opposite side of the gun, I guess it's better. So I think this is the 9/11, right? That is going to give the government a whole lot more power. And I hope we can turn it around. Yes. All right. I am looking to run for governor again. I'm not sure I will, but I'm looking to run for governor again. I really am. I think we have to do something to make some change. Absolutely. And I did try my best to run for governor. I did. Absolutely. 100%. Yes. Larry, you did work that year and a half. You just working for free. Thank you, Missy. That is correct. Yes, I was working. I was busting my rump just for free. You might go, but Larry, you raised money. Yeah, I raised money. And could I have paid myself from the money I raised? I could have, but then I couldn't use it to run. I mean, the point is I only raised $500,000, which you might go, $500,000? Yeah, but my opponents raised $4 million and $12 million respectively. That was nothing. I had to put all of my money into my campaign. They could afford to pay for stuff. I couldn't, right? And if any of you think I did, it's public. You can just look at it whenever you want. It's public. It's an open political campaign. So you can just look at it whatever you want. I didn't spend any money on myself at all. I didn't give myself a salary, which legally you can, for those who don't know that. You can legally, if you want to, give yourself a salary out of your campaign so you can survive. You can. I just couldn't. I didn't raise enough money. If I raised, I don't know, $6 million, yeah, I might have given myself a salary. I might have. But not for $500,000. I just couldn't do it. So I was trying to make impact. I was trying to show people how to run. I was trying to grow this party. I was trying to do the right thing. That's why. So, what the F kind of diversion divide tactic are you pushing? Jimbo, you think I'm pushing a diversion divide tactic? You're not paying attention, brother. You are not paying attention. Do you have any idea what's at stake? What the hell is happening, Libertarians? I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the only guy out there who's not doing divide and conquer. Not at all. I don't know what you're talking about. You're not paying attention, dude. You saw a headline. You thought it was clickbait. You got mad. It's absolutely not what you're thinking. I'm talking about politics and how parties move forward and how parties move. I don't know what you're talking about. So I hope you come back, Jimbo. Hope you come back. All right. Let's see. Can libertarians benefit by campaigning as the real anti-establishment candidate? I think many times we can, but it's not always true, right? Sometimes you find Republicans, Democrats who bring up anti-establishment candidates, right? In the case of 2016, Trump was clearly more anti-establishment than anybody else was. That probably wouldn't have worked. We'd have to really be anti-establishment for that. Maybe, but there are certain times when I think we can, absolutely, and I think that's really the answer. So, see, Jimbo, Joe doesn't know what you're talking about either. No one knows what you're talking about, Jimbo. No one knows what you're talking about. Yes. All right. Libertarians cannot lose in the arena of ideas. I think that's often true, right? The problem is, how do we say them? We mess up in the way we present them, Ryan. That's how we do it. We often present them from the point of my rights or the Constitution, and the average American doesn't care. The average American wants to know what's in it for them, right? Libertarians care, obviously. That's why we're here. But a lot of libertarians don't care. They care about what's in it for them. If you can't phrase it in that way, they don't hear you. And that's our issue. The idea is good. How we actually present it is really a different issue. So, yes. I don't understand why all these commenters are upset about what Larry's saying. How can anyone be upset about what he's saying? Again, they've fallen for the left-right paradigms. What I keep saying, it's what I keep talking about. I've been talking about this for the past, 3-4 weeks in a row. We're falling in to a left-right paradigm. Everyone isn't by default your enemy or by default your friend because they happen to be on one side of that left-right paradigm. They're not. They can be on the left or the right. They can lean left or lean right or not lean either way and still be your ally. You're totally right, Joe. Yes. Yes. Larry has been co-opted or feeling effects of 5G. Which is it? This is 180 from normal. Surely isn't intentional because he wants to get attention. What? I don't know. I don't know what you're talking about, Dan. How am I 180 from normal? Because I brought up an interesting idea that I talked about 6 months ago because Republicans are upset about the polling. I don't know. I guess. I don't know, guys. I don't know. Those of you upset, I don't know why you're upset. I haven't changed my policies or anything. I haven't changed what I was doing. If you guys are upset, I get it. I guess you don't like that I'm even bringing up something, but you should be talking about it. Look, if you're a Trump Republican, if you're out there Trump Republican, and you can't talk about Trump and the Republican Party, come on, guys. You should be able to. He's your guy. He's your guy. Talk about it. Maybe he's making a mistake. Maybe he's not. Talk about it. I'm not saying he's making a mistake or not. I'm not saying either one. I'm saying there are Republicans who are scared because of polling. That's a fact. If you want to ignore that, you can, but it's your party, right? You're Republicans. If there are people in your party who are afraid of the polling, you should be discussing this with them, or they're going to stay home and you're going to lose. That's just how it works, guys. With the reverse, you think the people were worried about this in 2018, 2016? It's how it works, guys. But if you're mad, I get it. You can be mad, Dan. I'm not sure why, but you can be. Would I be practical to coordinate with 5 to 10 current L-leaning congressmen / women to join Libertarian all at once? How are we achieving something like this? Look, I would love for more people to run Libertarian, but I'd rather have the problem the Libertarian Party has in general is we have a lack of resources, both money, volunteers, candidates. We have a lack of resources. And you find a lot of libertarians who get angry and go, well, I don't want to bring anybody from the left to the right. They're just Republicans or Democrats. And I'm like, no, bring them. Bring them. If they want to lean left and they want to start turning libertarian, Brandon, I'm on board. Are they going to be perfect libertarians? No, they're not. And I'm still on board. Bring them. I'm happy to have them. If I can get more, even they come and leave, or they come, stay for a cycle, and then go back to being Republican and back to being Democrat. If they had a taste of who we are and their policies move more towards libertarian policies, that's a win. I'll take it. I'm not fooling myself and thinking that tomorrow all of a sudden the country is going to be libertarian. It's not. But can it be more libertarian? Yes. Yeah, it can. That's a goal we can achieve. Can I get more candidates to be more libertarian? Yes, that's a goal I can absolutely achieve. So I want it. So I'm not sure if you want to if you want to do that. If you think in your local area a bunch would be happy to run as a slate, that'd be great. The odds of getting a bunch of people who are Republicans, Democrats to just run as a slate, libertarian, I think are slim. But man, if you could do it, I'm in. If you need my help, DM me. I'm happy to help make that happen, Brandon. If you think that's possible, I'd love for it to happen. Absolutely. The Libertarian Party squandered a great opportunity by nominating Jo Jorgensen. I'm voting for her, but I believe a higher profile candidate would have brought a lot more libertarian votes this year. I think it would have. She's not a high profile candidate. That's true. But was there one that the party wanted? I think no. I don't think there was a higher profile candidate the party wanted. Right? The party didn't. Justin Amash dropped out. The party didn't want Judge Jim Gray. I don't think there was a higher profile candidate really to be forward, or a high profile candidate out there. What I would have loved for a higher profile candidate to run and be nominated, because I think we'd have more, press, more money, more everything. So maybe, but I'm not sure there was somebody there, Eric. The best we could have gotten, I think, which is why I got behind him, was Judge Jim Gray. The party didn't want Judge Jim Gray. I get it. That's how it works. I think he was the highest, and he's not a high profile. He's higher, but even he wasn't high profile. The highest profile person we had was Justin Amash, and he backed out. So I think we got what the party wanted. That's all I can say. So, yeah. Yeah, I just talked about that. Yes, about that PC. Thank you so much. Yes. All right. Let's see if I can grab a couple. One. Ford never won an election. Good point, John. You're right. He replaced Agnew. That's correct. I'm sorry. So yeah, Ford didn't win. But Ford ran in 1976 against Carter and lost. So yeah. So right, he did right because he ran in 76 and lost. Correct. Yeah. So but yeah, I think he didn't win. He wasn't that good of a. I mean, I think if anything, Ford was supposed to be. And this, I think, Ford did well. Ford was a decent healer after the turmoil that Nixon was. Nixon, for those of you who are old enough to remember Nixon, some of you probably weren't even born yet, but for those of you who remember Nixon, after Nixon, our country was really tore up after that. And I think Ford did a decent job of being a healer, pardoning Nixon, which made some people angry, but also made a lot of Republicans satisfied, right? So they dealt with that issue. I think he was a decent healer. He wasn't a great president, and he was a bad campaigner. Obviously, I mean, Carter beat him. He was not a great campaigner, but I think he was a decent healer. I mean, I think that was his job, right? I mean, he was selected to be a healer. He was a good guy. I think people who remember him. So I think he was a decent healer. So, here, Trump, Clinton, Andrew Johnson are impeached forever. Yeah, but Andrew Johnson's dead, doesn't care. I don't think Trump cares at all. I think Clinton still cares. I think he's still trying to fix this. Yeah, I think he's still trying to fix this thing. Yes. This is just presidential harassment because they know Trump is getting reelected. I think there's a part to that, Miguel, that is true. There's a part of that that's true. There's an anger or an anguish, I think, with some people that just want Trump to pay. I think there's some of that's true. There's a hatred. And I live in New York City. I see it all. There's a hatred of Trump that is very deep. So there's some of that. I don't think it's all that, but I think there's some of that. Yeah. The Democrats said Trump would not accept defeat in 2016. They never accept defeat. They always accuse opponents of corruption. Are they really that different, Carl? Right? As parties, are they really that different? I mean, in rhetoric, they are. In rhetoric, they are. But in actual practice, I'm not sure. You know, I'm not sure. Right? That's for someone else, but not for me. I apologize. Reagan was a pimp, though. But to compare Trump to him, you lost your mind. Okay. Okay. I don't know how to respond to that one. I'm not sure I'll respond to that one. Great analogy of insects and people. Joe, sometimes it's just so true. Absolutely. Sometimes so true. Yes. When you believe the impeachments are unfair or untrue, why would you not react with defiance? It's a valid point, right? Mary, if someone wanted to impeach me and I didn't think I should be impeached, I'd be pretty pissed off too. Particularly if I knew that I was going to be impeached, regardless of whether it was true or not, because of politics, right? So whether Trump was guilty or not, and I told my friends this who are Trump's, they got mad at me. They said, he can't get impeached. He didn't do anything wrong. And I said, it doesn't matter. And I know that makes you angry, but it doesn't matter. This is political, right? And those of you might remember, I was talking about this on the show, actually. I was saying they're going to wait until after the election before they decide if they're going to impeach the president or not. People said, why? I said, well, what they've done, the Democrats have done, is back in November, they did polling. And the polling showed that it was popular among Democrats to impeach Trump. And that's what the polling showed. But they didn't trust the polling. So they wanted to make sure the local elections showed that where the polling said it was popular, that it actually was popular when it came to voting. And if it was popular, they would impeach Trump. If it wasn't popular, they wouldn't impeach Trump. No, it didn't matter if he was guilty or not. That wasn't the point. It wasn't the point. The point was it popular. And the 2019 elections showed that what their polling did was true, right? The polling matched the actual votes. And they were like, ooh, Democrats love this. They think this is great. Impeach. And they were right. I know you Republicans are probably mad at me now, but I'm just telling you the truth. They were right, not in that impeaching him was good or righteous, but it was effective for politics. And the polls are showing that. Democrats loved it. It energized them, and they're ready to rock and roll. And even if he didn't get removed, Democrats are still energized, and they want their base out. So I'd be mad too, Mary. I agree. If I was Trump, I'd be mad too. 100%. I'd also be